do not want to know what's going on out there.
Hello everyone, Praisedscooter here. Well, it's that time of year again where some random person with a microphone and webcam tells you what the best games are that were released this year. And I will be fulfilling that role today. As a whole, 2020 has kind of been a rough year for everybody. Mass illnesses, injustices, and many other ill-fated occurrences have made this year really tough for folks to get through. So let's focus that anger away from that and use it against this list as to why this list is incorrect. As with every year I do these, I'll remind you guys that these games on the list are games that I've played from this year. Games that I haven't had enough time for, or games on consoles I do not own, will not be on here. What that basically boils down to is no Crash 4 or Persona 5 Royale because I do not own PlayStation 4. With the formalities out of the way, let's begin my top 10 games of 2020. First though, before the actual top 10 list, I have a handful of honorable mentions to get out there. These are a couple games that I played that I either didn't get enough time invested in to consider them for the main top 10 list, or they released in a previous year. My first honorable mention goes to Monster Hunter World. A lot of my friends have been trying to get me to play this series for a long time. I believe around ever since Tri Ultimate was on the 3DS and Wii U. But I was just too spooked by the series. Then this year, way early on, Monster Hunter World went on a big sale with the Iceborne DLC, and I said to myself, it's now or never, Scooter. And I am in love with this series now. The crafting system, the mini games for extra goodies, the different types of combats that are available to you based on your weapon, the hunts themselves, everything is awesome. Each hunt is learning how to do a pattern of movements, and each weapon has you learning a new flow of movements to outsmart and topple beasties 3 to 20 times your size. You can even do so with some friends, which is what really drew me into it, was friends to help me ease me into the cycle of this game. I was still scared witless when I started, but now I embrace that fear and use it as my adrenaline rush to help me take down those big monsters. And I can say that I am now on board with the series as a whole, and more than ready to get back to it again when Monster Hunter Rise comes out in a couple months. Next up in the honorable mentions list is Ring Fit Adventure. 2019 was my big push to get healthy, but even with that mentality, I had written off Ring Fit as a gimmick, something that never really worked and was only there to push a super niche product. And around the same time I dove into Monster Hunter, I gave this game a fair shot. This game is perfect for getting you into shape, or even pushing you beyond your limits if you are in shape as is. The big thing for me with this game is that it's the perfect mix of digital entertainment to distract my brain from the fact that I'm actually exercising, and an exercise program that pushes me to my limit to keep myself healthy. The story in it is kinda so-so, but you're not really going to play a fitness game to experience a J.R.R. Tolkien novel. Another honorable mention on this list goes to Horizon Chase Turbo. This is a super simple arcade racing game, where it is just you against AI. It's a callback to something I love in racing games, and solving the best course to take in a race to guarantee yourself first place. This game feels like a love I have for an NES title called Rad Racer, just with everything bumped up to 11. The amount of AI to race against, the bonuses to collect, and the fact that each car handles differently to play to any strengths you have in car racing games. The last honorable mention goes to Bug Fables, the Everlasting Sapling. For those of you who have been crying out for the same Paper Mario charm that has been lacking in recent releases of that series, Bug Fables is that exact game you want. A perfect game that not only captures the min-maxing nature of the first two Paper Mario titles, but even lets you choose how hard you want the game to be. You have normal for people who just want to experience a new story. You have hard for those of you that really have kind of walked all over the first Paper Mario game. And then you have masochist difficulty for those of you who go partnerless in Paper Mario, if you can even do that. You even have the flexibility to make the game as long as you want by completing all the side quests that are available, or just beelining it straight through. With all the honorable mentions complete, let's dive into the actual top 10 games from this year.
Number 10.
Alright, so picture this. You've seen Nintendo put out a new IP in the last few years that centered around fierce competition. In fact, they did it twice. And you see a chance to capitalize on that type of small lobby versus game type of gameplay that appeals to a younger audience, but mechanically is much deeper than that. This brings in my number 10 pick for this year with Ninjala, a free-to-play, free-for-all ninja-themed slugfest. Ninjala does the one thing I think is necessary for all free-to-play games to do. where everything you can do in the game is free. No abilities locked behind a paid wall, no skills hidden in the dollar signs, and everything is available from the get-go. Everything else that costs money is a cosmetic and has zero impact on gameplay. Sure, you are tempted to get them with the constant flood of limited time offer, but the veteran free-to-play gamers know not to fall for these tactics. Hey! Put that back. That's better. The game itself, though, is this weird flow from chill romping around looking for some power-ups to a pursuit phase of trying to corner an opponent, trying to do the search for power-ups phase. And then everything just kind of hits rock, paper, scissors clash with everybody trying to drop in on a cluster of combat. You know, kind of like this. This entry had popped off on release, and rightfully so, as it was aesthetically a poor man's Splatoon. Now though, it falls into the same stigma that a lot of massive versus games have, that only a handful of the launch player base is still active. But that player base will die on a hill defending the game. And I guess I will too.
Number 9.
Haha, Minecraft. Minecraft dungeons can mostly be broken down to being Diablo-light. This isn't a bad thing though, as almost everybody knows the Diablo series. A dungeon crawling hack and slash adventure that has all of its theming ripped right out of the voxel world of Minecraft. Though the coat of paint doesn't mean you'll be mining and crafting anything. Min-maxing and grinding for drops, on the other hand, is almost a certainty. The game also has a difficulty slider on each area you go to that will adjust to your item level. You can leave the difficulty slider as a default though if you want to have a more casual, fun playthrough, or you can challenge yourself to get some nicer rewards. Speaking of that item level stuff, that's the part of this game that makes me love it so much. The game doesn't have a traditional level up system in it like any other dungeon crawler game, but levels are instead tied to the armor and accessories that the game gives you as drops. A lot of people who have played this game tend not to like this feature as it means you have to adapt a new loadout and playstyle constantly, but to me doing that keeps the game interesting and changes things enough that you want to push through to that next wave of enemies to see if you can get something to make a new loadout and a new way to play. There's not a lot of games where I go from sitting in the back line shooting arrows, seeing how good of a job I can be as the marksman, but then when a hammer drops, I can literally jump into the middle of a circle of enemies and unga bunga my way through that crowd. There's even some loadouts I haven't seen or tried yet, thanks to the varied drop system. On top of that, the legwork has been done to not make it all zombies and creepers. Some unique enemy types and bosses have been thrown in as well that have a home in this game alone, and some of them are a legit terror to fight, even on a difficulty more fitting your gear level or with your friends. It's all in all a game that keeps having you try out new things, with familiar scenery that scares you with some of its tricks and has you think outside of the box.
Number 8.
A beloved RPG, redawned from the ground up. An RPG that not everyone has played, but for the few that have, will sing of its accomplishments for all time. What game do I speak of? It's not Final Fantasy VII Remake, but Trials of Mana, also known as Seiken Densetsu 3, the third in the Mana series that never officially made it to the States until this year. The Trials of Mana remake took the series staple of spells into a new direction where instead of just spamming spells until you run out of MP, you build up a hit meter that lets you cast a spell relatively free, though you still spend magic points to cast your spells. The beat-em-up fan in me loves this approach as it almost feels like you're building up a super meter in order to cast your spells, rather than the aforementioned spamming. I know Secret of Mana thrived on this, but changing the formula isn't always a bad thing. But did they just touch up on the combat and leave the rest a blank slate? Oh no, oh hell no. They rebuilt everything. All characters, major and minor, have mostly full voice acting, pulling in a lot of big names to help do voice clips.
Wow! Didn't realize that Holy Bolt would work so well. Here it comes!
Every locale has been given new life in a 3D environment instead of just this top-down isometric view that makes you use your imagination to think what it would look like. They've even added in a few jumping puzzles here and there, now that there is a Z-axis to play around with. Bosses have been remade as well to take advantage of the fact that this is more akin to an action beat-em-up game instead of an active RPG. The music has been rescored to give all the memorable tunes a fully orchestrated feeling. Every single part of this game from the Super Nintendo has been stripped down to its basics and redone as if this was an original title. Kind of like that other Square Enix game I just got done mentioning. But for those who do not know the pedigree this game had back in the 16-bit days, let me lay it down for you plain as day. 6 playable characters, choose 3 of them to make a party. Each character has 8 classes they can achieve by endgame. And depending on your party, you have 3 different possible stories to play through. I can't do big factorial numbers like this in my head, but I'm pretty sure the number of possible team compositions for this game is in the hundreds, possibly even the thousands. Trials of Mana is still a huge beast of a game that stands as the crowning point of the Mana series.
Number 7.
Wait, there was a first game? Kirby Fighters 2 is a strange thing that I never knew I wanted. The combat from all of the various Kirby titles over the last several years, with most of the end lag of moves removed, allowing for sick combos, but also has the spirit of a Smash Bros. Game inside of it because of all the items that spawn. Generally, the element of randomness in a fighting game is frowned upon, but considering Kirby is nothing short of chaos anyway, it's oddly welcomed. The game itself is very basic. Like, it's very hard to articulate some of the additional thoughts on this as it's so bare bones of a game, but this is what makes it great. Smash Bros. Has all these minor story beats in it trying to signify why all of these video game icons are in this massive game fighting each other. Kirby? Kirby's just Kirby. Kirby hasn't needed to explain himself for years. Kirby's just fighting his rival. And himself. And his other self. Because it's just another Tuesday in Dreamland. The addition of online multiplayer helps this game immensely. It may seem like something that shouldn't be that eye-opening, but with a game this dependent on versus gameplay, it would have flopped tremendously without an online option. But seeing as that is a non-issue now, we can throw tiny stubby hands at each other in the same room or millions of rooms away. Now, if you'll excuse me, I need to suplex a penguin.
Number 6.
I'm good. Fall Guys. You know of it, I know of it, and that makes it the reason it's my number 6 pick on this list. Fall Guys didn't really break the mold, but rather molded the mold to make itself stand above the rest of the crowd. That mold being the Battle Royale mode. Many Battle Royale games focus on the one thing, shoot gun better than other person, which is fine. Battle Royale at its core is to survive longer than anyone else in the grid. But Fall Guys doesn't try and make itself serious, it's just lighthearted fun, reminiscent of playing a Mario Party minigame. With the spirit of Mario Party though, it does come with some of those moments of rage, most of them stemming from forced cooperation, but that also gives this game some charm. Throughout most of the game you play, you do need to depend upon another person to help you reach an end goal of some kind. And I didn't actually even realize that up until I started writing up this script. Even in some of the earlier single-player maps you play on, you still have to work with somebody in some extent to reach a goal. But while playing this game, whether you're just having fun or raging at that one guy that wouldn't stand on the other side of the seesaw for just another half second, you just feel good. The theming about it just promotes a good feeling and general joy. You get knocked out of a match? Your bean person sighing a defeat makes it feel like a Wile E. Coyote failing, but getting himself back up again. See all these goofy costumes and combinations of them? Just the mental picture and hilarity of it makes you think that somebody just dressed themselves for the first time. It's all laid back and fun, while still flying the banner of a super competitive battle royale. But God help everybody if Tiptoe comes up. I will throw myself off the stage with reckless abandon, and somehow still be rewarded for it.
Number 5.
My number 5 pick goes to the half-genie hero herself, Shantae and the Seven Sirens. Shantae is back at it again, but this time on an all-expenses-paid vacation. That doesn't imply, though, that it's an all-dangers-free vacation. Shantae has shown that she's not the only half-genie left in the world, to be just as quickly left as the last of her kin. This entry in the series heads back to more of the series' roots with a single, large labyrinth to explore and re-explore with new abilities to acquire as she meets faces new and old. These labyrinths are also broken down into dungeons that were similar to the ones in Risky's Revenge, complete with locked doors and puzzles leading up to and after receiving a key item or transformation. which I adore because I started this series with Risky's Revenge. A new addition to this game outside of the new transformations is a card collection system to give yourself minor perks to everything else you do. Ladder climbing speed, crawling speed, just about everything major or minor you can think of. The only drawback to this is that the collection of each card sometimes requires you to get the cards several times over to activate them. Being honest with you though, this game is more of what makes the Shantae series great. Weird combat, funny interactions with NPCs, great music, a couple of fourth wall breaks, and finding ways to break the game with your transformations.
Number 4.
Look at that nice, big open world game with near limitless... hang on a second. With near endless combat and no weapon breaking. Genshin Impact seemed like this big promise that was too good to be true. A free, massive adventure game similar to Skyrim or Breath of the Wild? No way that's real, even if fueled by gacha whales. Right? Fast forward to this September, and the game launches, and it's a fully explorable adventure game with the likes of Skyrim for free. Huh. Well damn. Didn't think that was possible. The game is really impressive for its price of entry. Sure, the combat is somewhat lacking with a basic attack, charge attack, and 2 skills, but everything else is on par with that of a full price release. Fully voiced cutscenes, graphics up to current day standards, online multiplayer, optional side quests, and the part about that whole package is, though it can be played on home consoles, it is technically a phone game. The game does start you out fairly simple. Take your one character, go slap some goblins, here's some plot, have some freebie units, and the world is yours. Then you're told that mixing elements can help promote your damage. Yeah right, like all that finger contortion makes you deal more damage. And now you're cycling around weapons, trinkets, characters, leveling up every aspect of them to maximize your damage output and... oh god, this really is a gacha game! Yet, with all this leveling up and terrible summon rates, the game still rewards skill with its combat system in equal regard to wailing or throwing all your money at it to max out one character as fast as possible. And with mostly simple to understand keywords, it's not difficult to outfit your character or characters of choice to play how you wish. The game does also have some good world and character building, adding to it over time for free and updating environments to make the world come to life more. And you are rewarded for exploring the world, solving these world puzzles with premium currency needed to get more characters. And yet, throughout this whole time I've been talking about the game, it still amazes me that this is all still technically a phone game.
Number 3.
Rhythm game and beat 'em up. Two genres that probably should never mix. Yet this culmination of genres in no straight roads makes it my number 3 game from this year. A beautifully crafted world where music controls everything, but this being the timeline where all music is based around EDM. And you as the rock band duo of Bunkbed Junction are out to make not only a name for yourselves as one of the few remaining rock bands left in the city, but also to stop the NSR from poorly treating the citizens of their own town. The beat 'em up portion of this game is done in a very simple to learn fashion with only a couple simple moves to master, but infinite ways to use them to maximize your damage output. Very much akin to an arcade beat 'em up of sorts. You can even make these moves better and specialize them for each character as you move along in the story. I love how Mayday goes from the stereotype at the beginning of the game of just big, slow hits character to being a personal gamble with yourself on when you should stop the combo for your biggest damage output and run away shooting projectiles that you've gathered from calculating your hits. Zook goes from your standard fast combo maker to a resource management character for both him and Mayday. And the music that you play around in, well, it might all disguise itself as EDM, but nearly every genre of music that isn't rock is covered in this game, but it's also rockified to let you know when you're turning the tides of a battle and winning. But no matter what version of a song you hear, they're all certified bangers.
Oh, you should see West in school. He ain't nothing but a...
The rhythm portion of this genre mashup is a little more basic, but that is perfectly fine. In fact, the game doesn't require you to have musical knowledge to play and beat the game. It just helps you. Whether it's knowing when a beat happens to dodge an enemy's attack, or using that same knowledge to perfectly parry an attack back at the boss. You don't need to do it to beat this game. Again, it just helps. And while this musical mayhem is happening, the writing of the story tells of much deeper parts of some characters' lives than just, I'm in the band. Zook's past, the mystery behind the members of the NSR, all of it written in such a way that not only gets you invested in these characters, but also lets you have a laugh along the way.
Come on, May. Let's go home.
All right. Sayonara!
Number 2.
Hey, I got a question for you. What would you do if your favorite Zelda game got a spin-off that is your favorite genre of gaming? Well, you get my number 2 pick with Hyrule Warriors: Age of Calamity. The Legend of Zelda series isn't a stranger to the Musou fighter genre at this point, having another massive outing some years ago. But the fact that this game is set to give the players of the series a glimpse into the events of what happened when Calamity took over Hyrule is amazing to those that have poured so much time into Breath of the Wild and its world. The game does also capture the essence of Breath of the Wild, which is mind-blowing, especially with the genre that it is. Collecting materials for upgrades somehow feels identical to what you do in the source material, and Koei Tecmo made sure to note that too, so that you don't randomly get Lionel pieces from fighting Lizalfos. And somehow, each character's strengths and weaknesses are amplified in this game, even if their known abilities don't really scream offense. Sure, Daruk here gets a bit of a pass because he has a big sword and Gorons are known for being brutes, but they somehow roll his protection into his moveset. So how does Mipha's healing capabilities get used offensively? They don't. She just controls water instead. But on top of how each character uses their strengths and has their own moves, they also get the functionality of the Sheikah Slate in their own special way that just feels natural to how they would use it. Even in something as simple as the bomb functionality, where Impa lights up a firework, Link just yeets bombs, Daruk imitates a Death Mountain eruption, and Zelda piloting a bomb drone that drops more bombs. Okay, that last one is a bit of a stretch, but considering Zelda's weapon is the Sheikah Slate, they had to take a few creative liberties.
Doesn't it look delicious? Why don't you dig in, little guy?
Before we get to the actual number 1 game from this year, let's recap all my other choices to see if you can figure out what my number 1 game from this year is going to be. At number 10, we have Ninjala. Number 9 is Minecraft Dungeons. Number 8 is Trials of Mana. Number 7 is Kirby Fighters 2. Number 6 is Fall Guys. Number 5 is Shantae and the Seven Sirens. Number 4 is Genshin Impact. Number 3 is No Straight Roads. And number 2, Hyrule Warriors: Age of Calamity.
Number 1!
My number 1 pick from this year is something a little bit out of left field, considering my history in gaming as a whole. I mean, it's just...
Yes, get on with the Nintendo and tell us which Mario game you love this year.
Okay, ominous voice in the sky, I have no idea who the hell you are.
Precisely.
Oh, Supergiant have knocked it out of the park. They have made what is quite possibly the best experience in gaming this year and potentially the last 10 years with Hades. The game lured me in initially with a roguelike, a genre that I adore, despite how terrible my luck, or as some people will call it, critical thinking, tends to work against me in these types of games. But this game encourages you to look below the surface of just big numbers, to try and combine unlikely powers together to make deadly combos. You would never think Drunken Lightning would be a winning combo, and yet, here we are. Speaking of that, the powers. The fact that all the powers you collect aren't a tangible thing you collect, but rather a blessing from the various Greek gods. It rewards those that are a bit of a mythology buff to try and make certain gods play well together, and are given additional boons on top of what you're already given from those gods. And to that end, we get to talk with what Supergiant does best in writing characters. Greek gods are not known as subtle beings. They usually say what they want, but do it in such a way that sounds elegant, and Supergiant have expertly captured those witty moments of dialogue perfectly.
Did you happen to know, my king, that you have slain more than 100 foes since you began your quest? You have, for I am keeping count, and I am most impressed.
Why, good to see you, Charon, mate. Just minding my own business, taking in the sights, and hey, what's that you got? Some sort of wares for sale? And I'll just have a look around.
There are also so many variables to each run you do outside of what drops you get that lets you play the game as hard or as easy as you like, and as many times as you want on top of that. From starting out on a normal run with just the bare basic sword, to making it a speedrun that requires you to never stop moving, or never stopping to think. And in that entirety of chaos, well, you can see chaos. Give yourself a handicap if you think you're tough enough to get a better boon down the road. Or walk away from it to guarantee yourself a sure thing. Hell, the variables go even further than that with your choice of weapon and trinket before you even begin your run. And the cherry on top of all this is the art. Everything from character portrait cut-ins to the in-game models looks like something taken off the walls of an ancient Greek mural. It's mind-blowing. Hades may be made to be a myriad of variables, but the one constant is that it is the best game from this year. Well, that's it. That's the list. A reminder that if a game you really enjoyed didn't appear on this list, doesn't mean your list is invalid or your choices are invalid. If you really want to, you can go ahead and tell me what your list is down in the comments. Or just the one game you like from this year, or even any game you love to play this year. I would love to hear what you have to say about that. Now while you're down there typing up an autobiography, let me shill myself for a minute. If you like this video, click the like button. That and clicking the subscribe button along with the bell does help the channel grow and also shows me what kind of content you guys enjoy. I release at least one video per day in the normal Let's Play format, normal being subjective. So if you want to stay on top of those videos as well when they drop, make sure you do hit that bell. Though I have no idea if the bell works as they say it does. I do also try to do these top 10 videos more than once a year, but this year in particular has been a bit rough to get the motivation to do these videos more often. Anyway, now that we're all done here, I gotta head back out into that hellish landscape that is 2020. Wish me luck. Give me my cleaning brush! You're still here? Cool. Hey, I wanted to talk with you for a minute. Well, good job. You did it. I'm being coy with you at this point, I know, but you did it. You made it through 2020. Let that sink in for a minute. Like, I really wanted to emphasize this point. 2020 has been rough on everybody in some capacity. Whether it's been a minor inconvenience for you or has literally turned your world upside down. You made it through this hellscape of a year. I'm proud of you. I'm pretty sure we all know somebody that wasn't as lucky to make it through this year unscathed, or didn't even make it to the end of this year. As selfish as it might sound, you made it to the end of 2020. I want you to take that victory. That's all I had additional to say to you. I just wanted to make sure you guys knew that I'm proud of you that you made it to the end of 2020. We can always hope next year is better, but let's take what victories we can get wherever we can. Thank you so much for watching, and you guys have a great day. And here's to a great 2021.